My chosen one, listen carefully. This is not a normal message. This is not a casual whisper in the wind. This is an emergency summons from heaven itself. God says, emergency. I need to talk to you for 20 minutes right now. You have made a serious mistake. If you ignore this warning, you will face the consequences. Open this immediately before it's too late. Don't skip God. Do you feel that shift in your spirit right now? That sudden stillness? That pause in your breathing? That is not fear. That is awareness. Because something has already been set into motion, and heaven cannot stay silent any longer. You are not scrolling randomly. You are not searching by accident. This moment was aligned. Time. Appointed. And Archangel Michael is standing watch as this message reaches you. There is a mistake you made recently. You thought no one noticed. You convinced yourself it was small. You told yourself, it doesn't matter. But in the spiritual realm, it echoed louder than you realize. This is not about shame. This is about correction. This is about protection before damage becomes permanent. Heaven is not angry at you. Heaven is urgent about you. The mistake was not just an action. It was a decision rooted in distraction. You allowed fear to guide you instead of faith. You let pressure speak louder than prayer. And slowly, almost silently, you stepped slightly off the path that was designed specifically for your destiny. It was subtle. It felt justified. But it was serious. And here is what makes it urgent. The consequences are not punishment. They are the natural outcome of a direction. If you continue walking that same way, the outcome will arrive exactly where that path leads. Not because God wants it, but because every path has a destination. Right now, Archangel Michael stands as a defender, sword ready, not against you, but against what is trying to pull you further away. You see, when you made that choice, it opened a door. A small one. But even small doors allow influence. Doubt started increasing. Peace started decreasing. Your sleep changed. Your thoughts became heavier. And you blame stress. But this is deeper. God says you have 20 minutes, not literally counted by a clock, but symbolically. A window of grace. A divine interruption before consequences solidify into reality. This is your warning before regret. Something you are about to do, or continue doing, will lock in a season you are not prepared for. And heaven refuses to let you walk blindly. Gauze. Think about the last decision that felt rushed. The last compromise you made. The last time you ignored your inner conviction. That is where this emergency is centered. You felt it. That slight discomfort. That whisper saying, this is not right. But you overrode it. And now God says, I need to talk to you. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Right now. Because timing matters. There is a ripple effect attached to your obedience and to your disobedience. What you choose today will affect relationships, finances, opportunities, and spiritual authority. The weight of this is bigger than it appears. But here is the hope, and you must hear this clearly. It is not too late. If it were too late, there would be silence. Instead, there is warning. And warning is mercy in disguise. Archangel Michael does not show up for minor matters. When he stands guard, it means something strategic is under threat. Your calling is under evaluation by forces you cannot see. Not to destroy you, but to test your alignment. You are at a spiritual crossroads. One direction leads to temporary comfort and long-term loss. The other leads to short-term discomfort and long-term glory. And the mistake, it was leaning toward comfort. God is not exposing you to condemn you. He is exposing the error to preserve you. You have been distracted by validation. You have been driven by impatience. You have been reacting instead of seeking. But the emergency call is proof that heaven still claims you. Listen carefully. There is a conversation you need to have. There is a habit you need to break. There is a connection you need to reconsider. There is a step you need to undo before it roots deeper. And this message reaching you right now is your turning point. Do not treat this lightly, because ignoring divine interruption creates spiritual distance. And spiritual distance slowly turns clarity into confusion. God says, open this immediately before it's too late. Open your heart. Open your ears. Open your humility. The next few moments will determine the next few months. You are not here by chance. You are here because heaven intervened. And Archangel Michael stands as a reminder. Protection is available, but alignment is required. This is your emergency call. Will you answer it? Beloved soul, the urgency you felt a moment ago was not emotional pressure. It was divine interruption. When God says this is an emergency, He is not exaggerating. He is revealing that something in your life has reached a tipping point. A mistake you made was not random. It was the result of a slow drift. And drifts are dangerous because they feel harmless while they quietly change your direction. You did not wake up one morning planning to step out of alignment. It happened gradually. One ignored conviction. One delayed prayer. One compromise that seemed logical at the time. You told yourself it was necessary. You justified it with circumstances. But heaven measures choices differently than humans do. What feels small on earth can echo loudly in the spiritual realm. Archangel Michael is present not to intimidate you, but to defend your destiny. There are moments when spiritual battles intensify because a breakthrough is near. The enemy does not fight what is insignificant. The pressure you have felt lately is proof that your life carries weight. And when weighty destinies drift, heaven responds quickly. The serious mistake was this. You trusted your own understanding more than God's instruction. You leaned on visible outcomes instead of invisible guidance. Perhaps it involved a relationship that you knew was misaligned. Perhaps it involved money that you handled without integrity. Perhaps it was a promise you broke, or a calling you postponed out of fear. Whatever it was, it created a crack in your spiritual foundation. Cracks do not destroy buildings instantly. They weaken them over time. And that is why this warning is urgent. God is not shouting to embarrass you. He is calling to rescue you. If this message had not reached you now, the consequences would not appear immediately dramatic. They would arrive subtly. Opportunities would close without explanation. Peace would slowly disappear. Favor would feel distant. And you would wonder what changed. This is the mercy moment before that slide becomes reality. There is still time to reverse it. But reversal requires humility. It requires admitting that you stepped ahead of God instead of walking with Him. It requires undoing what pride tried to protect. And yes, that may feel uncomfortable. But temporary discomfort is far better than permanent regret. Right now, something inside you is stirring. That stirring is conviction mixed with hope. Conviction shows you where you went wrong. Hope shows you that you can still turn around. And Archangel Michael stands as a spiritual guardian during this turning point, ensuring that if you choose obedience, protection will follow. Do not let distraction steal this moment. The world will try to pull your attention away. Notifications, noise, responsibilities, opinions. All of it can make you forget what you just felt. That is why you must anchor this message deeply. Sit with it. Reflect on it. Ask God directly, show me the mistake clearly, and be ready for the answer. Sometimes the correction will require an apology. Sometimes it will require stepping away from something that feeds your ego. Sometimes it will require surrendering control over a plan you carefully designed. But when God interrupts you, it is because He sees what you cannot. You may feel exposed right now. That exposure is not rejection. It is refinement. If this message is speaking directly to your spirit, do not keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who may also be drifting without realizing it. Like this video is a sign that you receive correction with courage. Comment below and declare that you choose alignment over pride. Subscribe and become part of a community that values divine warnings instead of ignoring them. When you support and engage, you are helping these urgent messages reach souls who are standing at their own crossroads. And listen carefully. What is coming next will uncover the hidden root behind the mistake. You may think you already understand it, but there is something deeper beneath the surface that must be revealed before full restoration can happen. Hold your focus here, because what is about to be exposed could change the way you see your recent decisions forever. The emergency is real, but so is the grace, and heaven is still speaking. Precious one, now the deeper truth must come into the light. The mistake was not only an action, it was rooted in something hidden within your heart. God is not just correcting behavior, He is revealing the source. Because if the root remains untouched, the fruit will return again and again in different forms. You have been operating from a place of silent fear, not the loud kind that makes you panic, but the quiet fear that whispers, "What if God does not come through?" That subtle doubt pushed you to secure your own outcome. It convinced you to take control instead of surrendering. And control, when it replaces trust, becomes a spiritual trap. This is why the warning is serious. Archangel Michael stands as a warrior of truth. His presence in this message signifies that deception hath been near you. Not obvious deception, but subtle distortion. You began believing that delay meant denial. You started interpreting silence as abandonment. And in that vulnerable space, you made a decision that seemed wise in the moment but was disconnected from divine timing. God says the consequences you were about to face were not random disasters. They were lessons accelerated by misalignment. You would have entered a season of unnecessary struggle, fighting battles that obedience would have prevented. Doors would have seemed locked, not because heaven closed them permanently, but because you stepped outside of protection. But listen carefully. Exposure is grace. The reason this is being revealed now is because restoration is still possible. God does not expose to shame. He exposes to heal. The serious mistake was trusting your fear more than His faithfulness. And fear always exaggerates urgency. It makes you rush. It makes you compromise. It makes you think you are running out of time. You are not running out of time. You are running into correction. There is a conversation you need to revisit with God. It is not a long speech. It is a simple admission. I move without you. That humility will shift the atmosphere immediately. The spiritual crack that formed will begin to seal. The weight you have been carrying will start to lift. And clarity will return where confusion tried to settle. Right now, Archangel Michael symbolically stands at the gate of your next season. The sword is not raised against you. It is raised against the consequences that were approaching. But protection activates fully when repentance is genuine. Do not harden your heart. The pride that says, "It's not that serious," is the very thing that deepens mistakes. But the spirit that says, "Lord, correct me," invites supernatural mercy. You may feel emotion rising as you hear this. That is not weakness. That is alignment beginning to take place. When truth touches the heart, it awakens what distraction tried to numb. God is giving you a divine pause. In this pause, you must decide who leads your life, your fear or your Father, because the path ahead splits clearly now. One path continues the pattern. It preserves ego but weakens destiny. The other path requires surrender but strengthens your calling. And your calling is not small. That is why this interruption is intense. Heaven does not send emergency warnings for ordinary futures. You carry influence. You carry assignment. You carry spiritual weight that affects more than just you. And when someone with purpose drifts, correction comes swiftly, not to punish, but to protect the bigger picture. Imagine what would have happened if this message never reached you. Imagine continuing confidently in the wrong direction for once. The regret would have been heavier. The repair would have taken longer. But instead, you are being stopped now. That is mercy. This is the turning point. Breathe. Reflect. Realign. And as you do, declare internally that you choose obedience over impulse. Choose trust over control. Choose surrender over fear. Type "I return to alignment" in the comments if this message has pierced your spirit. Blessing code 318 is now activated over your life. This number represents restoration after error and protection after warning. Receive it with humility. And understand this: when you respond to correction with obedience, heaven responds to obedience with acceleration. Now is the moment to seal this shift in your spirit. As this revelation settles in your heart, remember that spreading messages like this is not about a platform. It is about rescuing destinies before consequences arrive. When you sow into this mission through Super Thanks, membership, or the PayPal link in the description, you are not giving to a channel. You are releasing light into someone else's dark crossroads. Scripture declares, "Those who sow in tears shall reap in joy," and this is God speaking that promise over you personally. When you act in faith, you become part of the harvest of restored lives. If your spirit is stirred right now, let your response be immediate. This is a prophetic moment, not a casual opportunity. As you give, see it as planting oil into a lamp that must not go out. Every seed becomes a shield over another soul standing at the edge of a serious mistake. I declare that as you release, heaven will release back to you multiplied clarity and protection. Do not delay obedience when God places it in your heart. Move as the Spirit moves you. Activate your support today and become a guardian of this message. Faithful one, now that you have acknowledged the mistake and felt the weight of correction, something powerful begins to shift in the unseen realm. Repentance is not weakness. It is spiritual authority reclaimed. The moment you say, "I return to alignment," chains that were forming quietly begin to fall apart before they can tighten. But listen closely, because this next truth is critical. After correction comes resistance. The same fear that pushed you into the mistake will attempt to convince you that nothing has changed. It will whisper it's too late anyway. It will try to minimize your decision to realign. It will attempt to pull you back into old patterns by making them feel familiar and safe. This is where many people stumble again. They repent emotionally but do not guard their next step strategically. Archangel Michael's presence in your life right now symbolizes vigilance. The warrior does not win a battle by celebrating too early. A warrior secures the territory after reclaiming it. And you must secure your spiritual territory. The serious mistake opened a door. Your humility closed it. But now you must lock it. That means changing behavior, not just feelings. If the mistake involved a relationship, boundaries must now be clear. If it involved financial compromise, integrity must now be firm. If it involved neglecting prayer, discipline must now be restored. Realignment is proven through consistent action. God says the emergency was not just about stopping harm. It was about upgrading your awareness. You are entering a season where your discernment must sharpen. You cannot afford casual decisions anymore. Your destiny is approaching a level where small errors create large consequences. This is not meant to scare you. It is meant to mature you. There is elevation ahead, but elevation requires precision. Think about this. When a plane climbs higher, even slight miscalculations in direction can cause massive deviation over distance. In the same way, as your calling rises, your alignment must become more exact. That is why heaven intervenes strongly. You are not ordinary. You are not random. There is influence tied to your obedience. People will one day depend on your clarity. Your family, your community, even strangers may benefit from the wisdom you are developing right now through correction. You see how mercy is shaping you. What felt like exposure is actually preparation. The mistake revealed where you were still vulnerable, and vulnerability acknowledged becomes strength cultivated. You are not being defined by your error. You are being refined by it. However, there is something else you must guard against: shame. Shame says because you made this mistake, you are unworthy. A voice does not come from God. Conviction corrupts behavior. Shame attacks identity. And Archangel Michael stands against any accusation that tries to redefine you by your lowest moment. You are still chosen. You are still called. You are still capable of fulfilling everything God designed for you. But now you are wiser. The emergency has awakened something deeper inside you: spiritual alertness. You will begin noticing things you previously ignored. You will sense shifts in atmosphere. You will feel conviction sooner. That is growth. Do not rush past this stage. Sit in reflection for a while. Ask God to reveal any other subtle areas where fear may still be influencing you. Invite Him to examine motives, not just actions. The more transparent you become before Him, the stronger your foundation becomes. There is also restoration coming, because when God interrupts you to correct you, He also restores what fear tried to steal. Peace will return steadily. Confidence will rebuild gradually. Opportunities that seemed uncertain will begin to align again. But this time, you will move slower, more prayerful, more aware, more dependent. That is maturity. And maturity is the gateway to promotion. Archangel Michael's symbolic stance over your life right now signals that the battle is shifting. Instead of defending against consequences, you are preparing to defend your calling. Instead of reacting to mistakes, you are proactively guarding your future. This is transformation in motion. Do not underestimate what just happened. Many ignore warnings and suffer unnecessary seasons of struggle. But you listened. You paused. You responded. That obedience has already altered your timeline. And here is something you must hold on to. Correction does not cancel destiny. It clarifies it. The emergency was intense because your purpose is significant. The warning was strong because your future is valuable. And the urgency was real because delay would have cost you more than you realized. But now you are aligned again. Stay alert. Stay humble. Stay prayerful. Because the next shift is not about preventing damage. It is about stepping into acceleration with wisdom. And what unfolds next will reveal why this entire interruption was not just about avoiding consequences. It was about positioning you for something greater than you expected. Steady heart. What you are experiencing right now is the calm after divine intervention. But do not mistake this calm for completion. This is the transition space between warning and elevation. And in this space, something sacred is forming within you. Spiritual discipline. The emergency was never meant to leave you shaken. It was meant to leave you sharpened. There is a difference. When God interrupts your path, it is because He sees further than you do. The mistake you made was real, but it also revealed how close you are to your next level. The intensity of the warning was directly connected to the magnitude of what is ahead. Small destinies do not receive urgent corrections. Significant assignments do. You were seconds away from stepping into a pattern that would have quietly drained your authority. Not destroyed it overnight, but diluted it slowly. Influence would have weakened. Confidence would have cracked. Discernment would have dulled. And you might not even have realized why. But heaven stepped in. Now the question is not whether you were corrected. The question is whether you will build differently from here. Archangel Michael's symbolic presence over this message is not only about protection from external forces. It is also about guarding internal growth. Because the next battle you face will not be about the same mistake. It will be about maintaining consistency. Consistency is what separates emotional decisions from spiritual maturity. You felt conviction. You responded. It is powerful. But now you must create structure around your obedience. Prayer cannot remain occasional. Reflection cannot remain reactive. You must intentionally design rhythms that keep you aligned even when emotion fades. This is where many people fall back into old habits. The urgency fades. Life gets busy. Distractions return. And slowly, alignment weakens again. Not because they rejected God, but because they stopped prioritizing connection. Do not let that become your story. Right now, you have clarity. Protect it. Set boundaries where there were none before. Remove influences that trigger fear-based decisions. If certain voices pushed you toward compromise, create distance. If certain environments cloud your judgment, step away. Alignment sometimes requires separation. And understand this deeply. Separation is not loss. It is preparation. There are relationships and opportunities ahead that require a stronger version of you. The corrected version. The refined version. The self-aware version. You cannot carry old patterns into new seasons. God says the consequences you avoided were not meant to scare you but to awaken you. And awakening creates responsibility. Now that you see clearly, you are accountable to act wisely. The next phase of your journey will test your focus. Opportunities will come quickly. Decisions will need to be made faster than before. And this time, you must not move from fear. You must move from peace. Peace is your confirmation. If a decision feels rushed, pressured, or desperate, pause. If it feels steady, clear, and aligned, even if it requires courage, proceed. Archangel Michael symbolizes courage rooted in righteousness. That is the posture you must adopt. Not aggressive, not anxious, but firm and anchored. There is also something deeper unfolding beneath the surface. Your spiritual sensitivity is increasing. You may notice dreams becoming clearer, intuition becoming sharper, conviction arriving sooner. This is not coincidence. It is the result of humility opening your spirit wider. When pride lowers, perception rises. You are becoming more discerning. And discernment will protect you from repeating mistakes before they even form. However, do not allow this growth to inflate your ego. Spiritual growth must remain grounded in gratitude. Always remember that correction was mercy. You did not save yourself. You responded to grace. That humility will keep you safe. The emergency message marked a turning point. But turning points must be followed by straight paths. No more drifting. No more half decisions. No more silent compromises that you justify internally. From this moment forward, your alignment must be intentional. And here is the beautiful truth. When obedience becomes consistent, acceleration becomes natural. Opportunities that were delayed will begin to move again. Favor that felt distant will start aligning. Confidence that was shaken will return stronger, because now it is rooted in experience rather than assumption. You are not the same person who clicked on this message. You are more aware, more cautious, more grounded. And this growth is setting the stage for something unexpected. Because what seemed like an emergency about a mistake is slowly revealing itself to be an emergency about your promotion. Heaven was not just preventing loss. Heaven was preparing you for responsibility. And what unfolds next will challenge you to trust at a deeper level than before, not out of fear of consequences, but out of confidence in calling. Warrior of faith, the atmosphere around your life is shifting again. What began as an emergency warning is now transforming into a divine commissioning. You thought this message was only about a mistake, but heaven is revealing that it was also about positioning. There is a reason the correction felt intense. There is a reason the urgency carried weight. It is because what is coming next in your life cannot be handled by a distracted version of you. It requires focus. It requires discipline. It requires spiritual authority that has been tested and refined. The mistake you made exposed a weak spot, and weak spots, when ignored, become entry points. But when acknowledged and strengthened, they become fortified gates. You are no longer unaware. You are alert. Archangel Michael's symbolic covering over your journey now represents strategic warfare. Not chaotic battle, but ordered defense. The kind that anticipates attacks before they arrive. The kind that closes doors before temptation knocks. Understand this clearly. Elevation attracts attention. As you rise in clarity, confidence, and calling, resistance will attempt to measure you. Not because you are failing, but because you are advancing. And this is why your foundation must remain steady. You cannot afford emotional reactions. You cannot afford impulsive decisions. You must respond, not react. There will be moments very soon when something familiar tries to re-enter your life. It may look harmless. It may even appear improved. But its assignment will be the same, to test whether your alignment is temporary or permanent. This is your training ground. When that moment arrives, remember how this felt. Remember the urgency. Remember the mercy. Let that memory guide your decision. Growth is proven through repetition of obedience, not a single emotional turning point. God says you are stepping into a season where your influence expands. You may not see it immediately, but doors are quietly aligning. Conversations are being prepared. Opportunities are being arranged. And if you had continued in that misaligned direction, you would have entered those doors unstable. And now you will enter prepared. Preparation is often disguised as correction. There is also a deeper strengthening happening within you, resilience. The ability to stand firm without constant reassurance. The ability to trust without immediate evidence. The ability to wait without drifting. These qualities are not developed in comfort. They are forged in moments like this. Archangel Michael represents unwavering stance. And that is the posture you are learning. Not arrogance. Not aggression. but steadiness. You will notice that certain distractions no longer attract you the same way. Conversations that once entertained you now feel empty. Shortcuts that once tempted you now feel risky. This is not boredom. It is maturity. Do not grieve the loss of old impulses. Celebrate the growth of new wisdom. However, let me speak directly to your focus right now. Do not let this momentum fade after today. Engage with this message. Affirm it. Share it. If it has awakened you, allow others to awaken as well. Like this video as a declaration that you choose correction over convenience. Comment your commitment to alignment so your voice reinforces your decision. Subscribe and become part of a community that values divine clarity. When you share and engage, you extend this warning and this hope to someone who may be one decision away from unnecessary consequences. And listen carefully, because what is unfolding next is crucial. The season ahead will not simply test your obedience. It will test your endurance. You will be invited into responsibilities that stretch you. Expectations may increase. Pressure may rise. But this time, you will not crumble under it. Because correction builds your core stronger. God is not interested in temporary excitement. He is building lasting character. The emergency was the doorway. Discipline is the pathway. And destiny is the destination. There will be days when you question whether you truly changed. On those days, look at your patterns. Look at your reactions. Look at your boundaries. Change is not proven by feelings. It is proven by consistency. Archangel Michael stands as a reminder that you are not fighting alone. Protection surrounds obedience. Favor follows humility. Strength grows through surrender. The mistake you feared has become a milestone in your growth. Instead of marking failure, it now marks transformation. Instead of carrying shame, it carries wisdom. And wisdom will guard you far more effectively than fear ever could. Keep your spirit steady. Keep your focus sharp. Keep your heart humble. Because what is about to unfold will reveal why heaven refused to let you continue blindly, and why your next assignment demands the strongest version of you yet. Chosen vessel, something is happening beneath the surface that you cannot yet fully see. The correction has settled. The discipline is forming. But now comes revelation. God is about to show you why the mistake was so strategically dangerous. It was not only about you. Your decision was connected to other lives. When you drift, it does not end with you. There are people assigned to your obedience. There are individuals who will one day draw strength from your testimony, wisdom from your restraint, and courage from your faith. The enemy understood that if your foundation cracked now, the ripple effect later would be significant. That is why the pressure felt heavier than usual. Archangel Michael's symbolic presence in the season signals something important. You are part of a larger movement in the unseen realm. Your life is not isolated. It is woven into a divine strategy. And when someone woven into strategy shifts out of alignment, heaven intervenes swiftly. The mistake you almost continued would have altered timing. It would have delayed influence. It would have weakened confidence right before an opportunity that requires boldness. You may not know what that opportunity is yet, but it is closer than you think. Have you noticed unusual preparation happening lately? Conversations about growth, ideas about expansion, thoughts about stepping into something bigger. Those are not random imaginations. They are previews. But previews require readiness. God says the emergency was about refining your character before revealing your platform. Because exposure without integrity creates collapse. And heaven will not allow you to rise only to fall publicly. This is protection disguised as interruption. There is also something else you must understand. The fear that pushed you toward that mistake was rooted in scarcity, a belief that if you did not act quickly, you would miss out, a belief that you had to secure something before someone else took it. That mindset does not come from abundance, and your future is not built on scarcity. Your future is built on trust. Archangel Michael stands as a symbol of divine order. Order removes chaos. Order removes desperation. Order reminds you that what is meant for you cannot be stolen by timing or competition. When you operate from order, you move calmly. You decide carefully. You do not rush blessings. You steward them. The emergency revealed where scarcity thinking was hiding, and now you must uproot it completely. Replace it with confidence that God's provision does not expire because you waited for clarity. There will soon be a moment that mirrors your previous mistake. The setup will feel similar. The urgency may try to return, but this time you will recognize it. This time you will pause instead of panic. This time you will pray before proceeding. That moment will confirm your growth. Growth is not proven when conditions are perfect. It is proven when old temptations reappear and no longer control you. You are being elevated into responsibility, and responsibility demands inner stability. There are people watching you even if you do not realize it. Some admire you quietly. Some depend on your example. Some draw hope from your resilience. If you had continued down that misaligned path, confusion would have spread beyond you. But because you chose humility, clarity will spread instead. Do not underestimate how powerful obedience is when multiplied across influence. Archangel Michael's stance over your season represents not only protection, but assignment. Warriors are not positioned randomly. They guard what is valuable, and your calling carries value. The next phase will require leadership, not necessarily in front of crowds, but leadership in decision-making, in integrity, in consistency. You will be trusted with more, and trust is fragile. It must be handled carefully. The emergency was a wake-up call to handle your future with greater awareness. You are no longer in a season of casual living. You are in a season of intentional growth. Be careful with your words. Be mindful of your commitments. Be disciplined with your time. These small adjustments will compound into powerful momentum. There is acceleration ahead, but acceleration without steering leads to crash. Now your steering is stronger. You may still feel echoes of regret from the mistake. Let them teach you, but do not let them define you. Regret that leads to wisdom is productive. Regret that leads to shame is destructive. Choose the first. God says you are closer to breakthrough than breakdown, closer to expansion than exhaustion, closer to influence than insecurity. The emergency was not the end of something. It was the beginning of precision. And what is about to unfold next will test not your fear, but your faith at a level you have never experienced before. Anointed one, the shift you feel now is not imagination. It is activation. What began as a warning has now become a commissioning into higher awareness. You are no longer standing at the edge of a mistake. You are standing at the entrance of responsibility. The emergency was heaven's way of saying, you are too important to drift. Let that settle in your spirit. You are too important to drift casually through decisions. Too valuable to let fear steer your future. Too called to allow insecurity to rewrite your direction. When God interrupts your life with urgency, it is because your next season carries weight. And weight requires strength. Archangel Michael symbolizes divine strength under authority. Not reckless force, but disciplined power. That is what you are developing now. Disciplined power. the ability to move when instructed and pause when warned, the ability to speak when necessary and remain silent when wisdom demands it. There is something you must prepare for carefully. Opportunity will soon appear in a form that looks similar to your previous temptation. It may come through a person, a proposal, or a sudden opening. On the surface, it will seem like redemption for what you almost lost. But the true test will not be whether it looks good. The true test will be whether it aligns with peace. Peace is your compass. If you feel agitation, pressure, or urgency to prove something, step back. If you feel calm conviction, clarity, and steady confidence, proceed carefully. The mistake you avoided taught you the difference between pressure and peace. That lesson will protect you. God says there is influence attached to your obedience that you have not yet seen. You will soon encounter moments where your words carry more impact than before. People will listen differently. Doors will respond differently. That is because refinement has increased your spiritual authority. Authority is not loud. It is consistent. Archangel Michael's stance over your life now signals that the battle around you has shifted from preventing failure to guarding expansion. You are moving from defense into advancement. But advancement must remain humble. Pride will try to creep in subtly, whispering that you survived because of your strength alone. Do not accept that lie. You survived because grace intervened. You grew because correction was received. You advanced because humility responded. Keep that humility close. There will also be restoration in areas that felt strained during your misalignment. Relationships that seemed tense will ease. Internal anxiety will decrease. Confidence will stabilize. This is not coincidence. It is alignment bearing fruit. However, do not forget the urgency that started this journey. The memory of that emergency should remain as a guardrail in your mind. Not as fear, but as awareness. Awareness keeps you from repeating cycles. You are stepping into a phase where your decisions will echo further than before. Your obedience will ripple into spaces you cannot currently see. And your faith will inspire those who are quietly watching how you navigate pressure. If this message has carried you through reflection and realignment, do not let it end with you. Type "I walk in peace," not pressure, in the comments as a declaration of your new posture. Blessing code 824 is now released over your life, symbolizing strength after testing and clarity after warning. Receive it with gratitude and guard it with discipline. As this revelation seals in your heart, understand that spreading this light is part of your calling too. When you sow into this mission through Super Thanks, membership, or the PayPal link in the description, you are helping rescue someone else before their consequences unfold. Scripture declares that those who bring light to others shine like stars, and that promise is alive over you right now. When you give, you are planting seeds into soil that produces restored families, renewed faith, and redirected destinies. If your spirit feels stirred, let your action reflect it. This is not about supporting a platform. It is about fueling a movement of divine interruption. Every seed you release becomes a shield over another soul at their crossroads. I declare that as you sow, open heavens respond with provision, clarity, and favor in your own life. Do not hesitate when obedience calls. Act in faith and become a carrier of this warning and this hope. Activate your support now and stand as a partner in this divine assignment. Steadfast soul, you have crossed an invisible line. You are no longer the person who was about to ignore the warning. You are now the person who heard, paused, and realigned. That shift may seem internal, but in the spiritual realm it is monumental. The emergency has transitioned into empowerment. But empowerment brings exposure of a different kind. Not exposure of mistakes, exposure of capacity. You are beginning to see glimpses of what you are truly capable of when you move in alignment. Ideas are becoming clearer. Confidence is stabilizing. Decisions feel less chaotic. This is not coincidence. It is the fruit of obedience. Archangel Michael's symbolic presence over this journey now represents guarded advancement. When a warrior escorts someone forward, it is because the terrain ahead matters, and the terrain ahead of you is significant. There is a responsibility approaching that will require you to trust your growth. Not the version of you from months ago, the version of you now. The one who understands the cost of drifting. The one who recognizes the voice of pressure. The one who chooses peace over panic. However, let me prepare you for something subtle. As you step into greater clarity, distraction will try to return in a more refined form. It will not appear as obvious compromise. It will appear as harmless busyness, overcommitment, overthinking, overanalyzing. These may seem productive, but they can solely erode focus. The enemy does not always need you to sin. Sometimes distraction is enough. Guard your time carefully. Guard your energy wisely. Guard your thoughts intentionally. The discipline you develop during correction must now sustain you during expansion. God says you are entering a season where discernment will matter more than speed. You will have opportunities to act quickly, but wisdom will ask you to pause. That pause is not hesitation, it is strategy. Archangel Michael stands as a reminder that true strength is measured in restraint. You do not need to react to every invitation. You do not need to respond to every opinion. You do not need to chase every open door. Some doors open to test your boundaries, not to fulfill your destiny. You will know the right ones because they will not threaten your peace. They will align with the growth you have experienced. They will require courage, yes, but not compromise. There is also restoration unfolding quietly in your inner world. The self-doubt that crept in during your mistake is dissolving. The fear that once felt persuasive now sounds hollow. You are beginning to trust your ability to hear God more clearly. That confidence is sacred. Protect it from negativity. Be careful who you share your next steps with. Not everyone will understand your growth. Some may prefer the version of you that was uncertain because it made them comfortable. When you grow, dynamics shift, and that is normal. Do not shrink to maintain approval. You were corrected for elevation, not for comfort. The emergency you experienced was evidence that your life carries divine investment. God does not urgently intervene in what has no purpose. The fact that He spoke so strongly means your path matters deeply. And here is something that may surprise you. One day you will guide someone else through a similar mistake. You will recognize the signs. You will speak from experience, and your wisdom will prevent their consequences. What you went through was not only for you. It was training. Training creates testimony. Testimony creates impact. Impact creates legacy. You are being shaped for legacy. Archangel Michael's presence symbolizes that legacy must be defended, not with aggression, but with consistency. Continue praying even when you feel stable. Continue reflecting even when you feel confident. Continue checking your motives even when opportunities look promising. Stability is maintained through vigilance. There will soon be confirmation that you chose correctly when you responded to the warning. A situation will unfold that reveals what could have happened had you continued in misalignment. When you see it, you will feel gratitude. That gratitude will deepen your trust. Let it strengthen you, not scare you. You are not walking on fragile ground. You are walking on refined foundation. And now, The next step is not about avoiding mistakes. It is about embracing assignment. Because the urgency that once warned you is now transforming into a voice that commissions you. The journey is no longer about emergency. It is about expansion guided by wisdom. Faithful warrior, what you are stepping into now is not simply a new season. It is a new level of awareness. The emergency that once shook you has now trained you. The warning that once stopped you has now strengthened you. And the mistake that almost redirected you has now refined you. But listen carefully, because this stage requires something deeper than relief. It requires commitment. You have seen what misalignment feels like. You have tasted the urgency of correction. You have experienced the mercy that interrupts before consequences unfold. Now the question is not whether you understand the lesson. The question is whether you will build your life around it. Archangel Michael's symbolic covering over this phase represents disciplined advancement. Advancement without structure leads to instability. You cannot rely on emotional highs to sustain spiritual maturity. You must create patterns that protect your peace. This is where many lose momentum. After the intensity fades, they return to casual living. They relax their guard. They assume that because they corrected once, they will automatically remain aligned. Alignment must be maintained. There will be distractions that look harmless, invitations that seem exciting, opportunities that promise quick progress. But if they disrupt your peace or compromise your integrity, they are not aligned. God says your next breakthrough depends more on consistency than charisma. It depends more on quiet obedience than public display. What you do privately will now determine what you are trusted with publicly. You are being prepared for responsibility that requires credibility. And credibility is built through repeated right choices. There will soon be a decision that feels urgent. It may involve finances, relationships, or leadership. The pressure will attempt to rush you again. But this time, you will recognize the pattern. You will sense the difference between anxiety and conviction. Pause when necessary. Pray before proceeding. Consult wisdom instead of reacting emotionally. Archangel Michael symbolizes strength that stands firm under pressure. Its strength is now forming in you. Not loud strength, but stable strength. However, let me speak to something practical. If this message has carried you from warning to growth, do not disconnect now. Engage with it. Like this video as a declaration that you commit to disciplined alignment. Comment below and write your commitment in your own words. Share this message with someone who may be ignoring a quiet warning in their own life. Subscribe and stay connected to teachings that guard your focus. When you actively participate, you reinforce your decision and help extend this clarity to others who need it. And here is something important. What comes next will require endurance. Growth feels powerful in moments of revelation, but real strength is revealed in routine. There will be ordinary days where nothing dramatic happens. Those days matter, because destiny is not built in emotional peaks. It is built in consistent steps. You are transitioning from reaction to intention. You will begin noticing that your choices carry weight. Small decisions now feel more significant. That awareness is maturity. Do not ignore it. Lean into it. God says you are being trusted with greater influence. Influence does not always mean visibility. It can mean responsibility in your family, stability in your workplace, leadership in your community. Whatever form it takes, it will require integrity. Integrity is alignment sustained over time. Archangel Michael's presence reminds you that battles are not always loud. Some are internal. Some are quiet temptations to cut corners. Some are subtle invitations to compromise values for convenience. Stand firm. You are no longer the person who drifts easily. You are the person who discerns carefully. And here is the truth you must carry forward. The emergency was never meant to scare you into obedience. It was meant to awaken you into identity. You are called. You are guarded. You are positioned. Now you must live like it. The next chapter will not announce itself with alarms. It will arrive with opportunity. And your readiness will determine whether you step into it confidently or cautiously. Keep your spirit steady. Keep your motives pure. Keep your decisions prayerful. Because what is unfolding ahead is not about avoiding consequences anymore. It is about fulfilling calling with clarity. Courageous heart, you are standing at the threshold of manifestation. Everything that began as a warning has now shaped you into someone prepared for responsibility. The emergency was not just about stopping a mistake. It was about aligning you for impact. And impact requires readiness. You have walked through conviction. You have embraced correction. You have strengthened discipline. Now you are entering the phase where your growth will be tested in real time. This is not a test designed to make you fail. It is a test designed to reveal how far you have come. Archangel Michael's symbolic presence over this journey now represents watchful advancement. A guardian does not only fight threats, a guardian observes movements. You are being observed spiritually, not for condemnation but for confirmation. Heaven is watching how you handle pressure now, how you respond to inconvenience, how you treat opportunities that require integrity. There will soon be a moment where you are given influence over something valuable. It may be a decision that affects others. It may be a responsibility that requires wisdom. It may be an opportunity that demands courage. And in that moment, the old version of you would have acted quickly out of fear or ego. But the refined version of you will pause. You will reflect. You will choose peace over pressure. A choice will mark your true transition. God says the consequences you avoided earlier were not minor. They would have led to confusion during a critical season. But now, because you responded to correction, clarity will accompany you into opportunity. Clarity is a gift. Do not rush it. You may feel excitement rising in the coming days. Doors may open that surprise you. Conversations may align unexpectedly. Favor may appear in places you did not anticipate. When it does, remain grounded. Gratitude must accompany growth. Archangel Michael symbolizes strength anchored in divine authority. That is how you must walk forward, not insecure, not arrogant. Simply aware that your path is guarded and your steps are intentional. There is also something you must release completely, the identity of someone who almost failed. You are not defined by near mistakes. You are defined by responded warnings. Do not carry the memory of error as a weight. Carry it as wisdom. Wisdom makes you steady. You will notice that your reactions have changed. Situations that once triggered anxiety now trigger evaluation. Circumstances that once caused panic now invite prayer. This is evidence of transformation. However, stay vigilant. Growth does not eliminate challenges. It prepares you to handle them. There will still be moments of uncertainty. There will still be external pressure. But your internal response has matured. That maturity will protect you. God says you are about to see tangible proof that alignment matters. Something will unfold that confirms the seriousness of the original warning. You may witness someone else experiencing the consequences you narrowly avoided. When you see it, do not judge. Feel gratitude. Let it remind you of mercy. Mercy redirected you. Mercy strengthened you. Mercy positioned you. Archangel Michael's watchful stance now signifies stability. The chaos that once threatened your direction has subsided. You are walking with clearer vision. But before the final revelation of this journey, you must seal your commitment. Not emotionally, but practically. Continue praying consistently. Continue evaluating decisions carefully. Continue choosing integrity even when shortcuts appear attractive. You are building a life that can sustain blessing. And sustainable blessing requires structure. There is influence tied to your obedience that extends beyond what you currently see. Future conversations, future partnerships, future leadership moments. All of it is connected to the discipline you develop during this correction. You are not simply surviving. You are being entrusted. The emergency was the alarm. The growth was a preparation. Now comes the confirmation. In the next unfolding moment, you will understand fully why heaven refused to let you continue blindly. And when you see it clearly, your faith will solidify in a way it never has before. Hold steady. The culmination of this message is near, and it will seal your confidence in the voice that warned you before it was too late. Beloved of the Most High, this is the culmination of the warning, the correction, and the transformation. You began this journey under the sound of an emergency. You felt the weight of a serious mistake. You sensed the urgency in the voice that said, "Open this immediately before it's too late." And now you stand on the other side of obedience. Look at what has happened inside you. You are more aware. You are more disciplined. You are more discerning. The emergency was never meant to frighten you into submission. It was meant to awaken you into alignment. If you had ignored that warning, you would have stepped into a season of confusion that would have drained your peace and delayed your purpose. But you did not ignore it. You listened. That single decision shifted your timeline. Archangel Michael's symbolic presence throughout this journey represents divine intervention at critical moments. And this was a critical moment in your life. You were at the edge of a path that looked manageable but led to subtle loss. Loss of clarity, loss of authority, loss of confidence. But heaven intervened. Now, here is the final revelation. The serious mistake was not your downfall. It was your doorway. It exposed the areas that needed strengthening before your next level of responsibility arrived. If promotion had come before Gradian prayer would have cried you. But now you are fortified. Something significant is approaching your life. It may be an opportunity that expands your influence. It may be a responsibility that increases your visibility. It may be a blessing that requires stewardship beyond what you have handled before. And because you responded to warning with humility, you will enter it prepared instead of panicked. The consequences you feared have been replaced with confidence. The anxiety that once whispered urgency has been replaced with discernment. You no longer react out of scarcity. You respond out of peace. That is growth. And understand this deeply. Emergencies from God are acts of love. Silence would have meant permission to drift. But you were interrupted because you are valued. You were warned because you are chosen. You were corrected because your calling matters. Archangel Michael stands as a reminder that protection follows obedience. When you walk a line, you walk guarded. When you move with integrity, you move with backing from heaven itself. You not forget what this felt like. There will be future moments when decision seems small. Remember this emergency. Remember how quickly misalignment can begin. And remember how powerfully correction can restore. You are leaving this message stronger than when you arrived. And now, seal this transformation with declaration. Type "I choose alignment over consequences" in the comments if you are stepping fully into this refined season. Blessing code 909 is now activated over your life, symbolizing divine completion and new beginnings guarded by wisdom. Receive it boldly and walk in it daily. As this journey closes, understand something sacred. When you support this mission through super thanks, membership, or the PayPal link in the description, you are not funding content. You are fueling divine interruptions in other lives. God declares, "Give, and it shall be given unto you." And that promise is living and active over you right now. When you sow into this work, you are casting seed into soil that rescues souls before consequences unfold. This is not a casual donation. It is a prophetic act of obedience. As you release your support, you become a partner in stopping someone else's silent drift. Heaven sees the hand that gives in faith, and open windows of provision respond. I declare that every seed you sow will return as clarity, protection, and acceleration in your own life. Do not hesitate when your spirit nudges you. Move immediately and align your action with your conviction. Step into partnership today through Super Thanks, membership, or PayPal, and become a guardian of this message to the nations. You were warned. You responded. You were refined. Now walk forward protected, prepared, and aligned.